Yes or no?
Yes.
That they're quick toasted to capture that fresh corn flavor. That they're so light and crisp they just about float into your bowl.
Yes, yes, yes.
Shows might only air for a few years, and movies are one-time events, but some characters stay with us forever, becoming like real friends.
You see, you broke the law. Now let me finish. This is a jailhouse. Let's show some respect.
But what happens when the cameras stop rolling? Behind the smiles and laughter, unseen drama and hidden rivalries often bubble beneath the surface.
Boy, that was a difficult, heartbreaking time and thing to witness, and it was terrifying, and I wasn't sure Clint was gonna make it out, and
Really?
Yeah.
What shocking secrets are revealed by Ron Howard's unexpected disdain for Opie, the character that made him famous? Join us as we uncover the surprising reasons behind Ron Howard's deep-seated hatred and the untold stories lurking behind the scenes. Back in the day, from 1960 to 1968, The Andy Griffith Show had a pretty cool lineup of both regulars and special guests. Some of them became super famous after appearing on the show. The show was all about laughs and good times and starred folks like Andy Griffith and Don Knotts. Guess what? The funny little show ran for 8 seasons on a channel called CBS, starting on October 3, 1960, and wrapping up on April 1, 1968. The first part, from episode 1 to 159, was shown in black and white, while the final 90 episodes had all the colors of the rainbow. This show was so popular that it never ranked lower than 7th place on the seasonal Nielsen ratings list, and even grabbed the #1 spot when it finished. Set in the made-up town of Mayberry, North Carolina, The Andy Griffith Show showed us life in a sleepy rural place. The show was basically all about Sheriff Andy Taylor, played by Andy Griffith, who used his smart and sensible ways to keep the town safe from tiny troublemakers. But Andy's job isn't just about chasing criminals. He's also got to keep an eye on the quirky townsfolk, who often find themselves in hilarious predicaments thanks to their own silly antics. From the lovable but dim-witted gas station attendant Gomer Pyle to the town drunk Otis, who routinely locks himself in jail after a night of drinking, Mayberry is full of colorful characters who keep things interesting. But Andy Taylor isn't the only one keeping the peace in Mayberry. His right-hand man is his bumbling cousin, Deputy Barney Fife, played to perfection by the hilarious Don Knotts. Barney's overeagerness and tendency to jump to conclusions often lead to comical mishaps. Knotts' portrayal of Barney was so beloved that he won 4 Emmy Awards for the role, proving that even sidekicks can steal the spotlight. However, Knotts left the show in 1965, leaving a void that was filled by actor Jack Burns. But Barney Fife's legacy lived on, and his hilarious antics continue to entertain audiences to this day. The Andy Griffith Show, with its wholesome humor and lovable characters, was a huge hit in the 1960s, tapping into America's fascination with small-town life and simple values. It even spawned 2 spin-offs, Gomer Pyle, USMC, and Mayberry RFD, which further explored the lives of the quirky Mayberry residents. While the show itself didn't win any major awards during its 8-season run, its co-stars Don Knotts and Frances Bavier racked up a total of 6 Emmys for their hilarious and heartwarming performances. This goes to show that sometimes it's the supporting cast that steals the show. Even after the show ended, its popularity continued to soar. There was even a reunion movie called Return to Mayberry in 1986, bringing the beloved characters back together for one last hurrah. But what about the behind-the-scenes drama? Was the cast as friendly and welcoming as they appeared on screen? Or was there some tension and conflict brewing beneath the surface? Don Knotts, who played the lovable but uptight Barney Fife, was often the target of Griffith's pranks. Griffith would playfully disrupt Knotts' naps by dropping a noisy metal film canister on the floor, much to Knotts' chagrin. But Knotts wasn't the only victim of Griffith's mischievous streak. George "Goober" Lindsay, who joined the cast later on, once woke up from a nap to find duck guts scattered all over his dressing room, courtesy of Griffith. However, the cast knew how to give as good as they got. They once retaliated by stealing Griffith's shoes, forcing him to walk home in his oversized sheriff boots. It was a harmless prank that showed the playful camaraderie among the cast members. This good-natured humor even made its way onto the screen. In the episode Runaway Kid, Opie and his friends play a prank on Sheriff Taylor by parking his car in front of a fire hydrant, resulting in a parking ticket. It was a light-hearted moment that reflected the playful atmosphere on set. Don Knotts' unforgettable character, Barney Fife, wasn't supposed to be a mainstay on The Andy Griffith Show. Initially, he was only contracted for a single episode. But after witnessing the comedic chemistry between Knotts and Griffith on set, executive producer Sheldon Leonard was instantly captivated. He quickly offered Knotts a one-year contract, which eventually turned into a 5-year deal. This unexpected turn of events solidified Barney Fife's place as a beloved character and a vital part of the show's success. The iconic theme song of The Andy Griffith Show, affectionately known as The Fishin' Hole, was composed by Earl Hagen and Herbert Spencer. Hagen, the man behind the catchy whistling tune, even wrote lyrics for the song, and Griffith himself recorded a version with the words. It's a fun fact that many fans might not know, adding another layer of nostalgia to the beloved show. That iconic opening scene where Opie skips alongside his dad, Andy Taylor, and throws a rock into the lake? Well, it turns out it's all a bit of movie magic. Young Ron Howard, just 6 years old at the time, couldn't quite muster the strength to throw the rock far enough. So, the crew came up with a clever solution. An assistant director would secretly toss a rock at the same time, creating the satisfying splash we see on screen. If you watch closely, you might even notice a slight delay between Opie's throw and the splash. It's a fun little behind-the-scenes secret that adds to the show's charm. Speaking of endings, The Andy Griffith Show went out on top. When the show aired its final episode in 1968, it was the most popular show on television. That's quite an achievement for a show that started with humble beginnings and a cast of relatively unknown actors. It's a testament to the show's enduring appeal and the beloved characters that captured the hearts of millions. But the behind-the-scenes drama didn't end with the show's finale. In a surprising twist, the creator of The Andy Griffith Show, Sheldon Leonard, actually wanted to remove Andy Griffith's name from the title. In a surprising revelation, Andy Griffith himself shared that the show's creator, Sheldon Leonard, later regretted naming it The Andy Griffith Show. Leonard apparently wanted to simply call it Mayberry, which, in hindsight, might have been a better fit for the show's focus on the quirky town and its colorful inhabitants. Speaking of Mayberry, did you know that the town originally had a different name? It was actually called Mount Pilot before being changed to the more memorable Mayberry. Andy Griffith confirmed this fun fact in an interview, shedding light on the show's evolution. Eagle-eyed viewers might have even spotted Andy Griffith's real-life wife, Barbara, in a small role on the show. She appeared in the episode Barney and the Choir, adding a personal touch to the series, but that's not the only behind-the-scenes trivia. Frances Bavier, who would become the beloved Aunt Bee, actually played a different character in the pilot episode. She portrayed a local widow named Mrs. Henrietta Perkins, a far cry from the kind and nurturing Aunt Bee we all know and love. Another interesting tidbit, Joanna Moore, who played Peggy McMillan, Andy's girlfriend in a few episodes, was the first woman to wear pants on the show. It was a bold fashion statement for the time and a sign of the changing times. Speaking of Andy's love interests, Peggy is often overlooked compared to Ellie Walker and Helen Crump, but she does have a unique claim to fame as the first woman to wear pants on the show. And finally, let's not forget Betty Lynn, the actress who played Thelma Lou, Barney Fife's girlfriend. She fell in love with the real-life town of Mount Airy, North Carolina, which inspired Mayberry, and decided to move there in 2006. She became a beloved figure in the town, attending Mayberry Days festivals, and even having a statue of herself erected in the town square. So there's a story about how a lady had her house burglarized back in Los Angeles, so she decided to move to a small town in Carolina. Frances Bavier, who played a character in the show, actually retired to a real town close to Mayberry. In 1972, after her last appearance on another show, Mayberry RFD, she bought a home in Siler City, North Carolina. Even though her shows were filmed in California, Bavier really loved North Carolina, saying, "I fell in love with North Carolina, all the pretty roads and the trees." Now, about the town of Mayberry, there were some interesting details in the show. For example, Sheriff Andy has maps of Idaho and Nevada hanging on his wall, but they're upside down. That's weird, because Mayberry was supposed to be in North Carolina, not those states. Interestingly, Andy Griffith always denied that Mayberry was based on his own hometown, Mount Airy, North Carolina. There's an episode called A Black Day from Mayberry, where Barney finds a phone book on Sheriff Andy's desk and flips through it. Guess what? The word Mount Airy is clearly visible on the phone book's front cover. This phone book is actually for real-life Mount Airy, North Carolina. The last bit of intrigue: one actor's identity on the show is still a mystery to this day. That's pretty mysterious, isn't it? The Silent Man was a recurring figure in Mayberry, appearing in 26 episodes of The Andy Griffith Show, and even popping up in a few episodes of Mayberry RFD and Gomer Pyle USMC. This silent character was never given a name or backstory, leaving viewers to speculate about his identity. The mystery was further fueled by a prank played by a Tags fan club, who falsely claimed to reveal the man's identity as an April Fool's joke. It turns out, the silent woman was actually a stand-in for Don Knotts. She would fill in for him during rehearsals or when he needed a break. This bit of trivia adds another layer of intrigue to the show's behind-the-scenes secrets. Another mystery surrounding the show was the character of Nice Dress Nellie. This woman, always seen in the background wearing a different dress in each episode, was a silent but recurring figure in Mayberry. It was later revealed that Nice Dress Nellie was actually Betty Lynn, the actress who played Barney Fife's girlfriend, Thelma Lou. It was a clever way to keep the actress on set and involved in the show, even when her character wasn't directly involved in the plot. Another interesting tidbit: did you know that Andy Griffith's nickname on the show, Ange, was actually his real-life nickname too? Don Knotts, who called him Ange both on and off screen, coined it by combining Andy and Griffith. But perhaps the most surprising revelation is that Griffith and Knotts' personalities were quite the opposite of their on-screen personas. While Andy Taylor was the calm and collected leader of Mayberry, Griffith himself was known to be more reserved and introverted. Knotts, on the other hand, was a goofy and outgoing guy in real life, much like his character Barney Fife. Despite the on-screen camaraderie between Andy and Barney, their real-life personalities were surprisingly different. Andy Griffith, the charming and easygoing sheriff, was actually more reserved and serious off-camera. Meanwhile, Don Knotts, the bumbling and lovable deputy, was known for his playful and outgoing nature. It's a testament to their acting skills that they could portray characters so different from their real selves. The show's heartwarming opening scene, where Andy nods approvingly as Opie throws a rock into the lake, holds a special meaning. It was inspired by a real-life gesture of approval from Griffith's own father. This personal touch adds a layer of depth to their on-screen relationship, making it even more relatable and heartwarming. Ron Howard, who played Opie, also had a strong bond with his own father, Rance Howard, who was an actor himself. This close relationship served as inspiration for the father-son dynamic between Andy and Opie, adding authenticity and warmth to their interactions. It's no wonder that Ron Howard, who later became a successful director, often cast his father in his films, showcasing their close bond both on and off screen. But there was another side to Andy Griffith that many fans may not know about: his hidden talent for music. While he was best known for his role as Sheriff Andy Taylor, Griffith actually started his career in music and it remained a constant thread throughout his life. As a child, he sang and played trombone in his church band. He even graduated with a music degree from the University of North Carolina before becoming a high school music teacher. Griffith's musical abilities shone through in his acting career as well. He earned a Tony nomination for his role in the Broadway musical Destry Rides Again in 1958, and he showcased his singing talent in the 1957 film A Face in the Crowd. In 1998, Griffith shared how music played a significant role in the show, adding another layer of depth and authenticity to the world of Mayberry. Over the years, he even released several albums of country and gospel music, showcasing his diverse musical talents. He even recorded a version of the show's iconic theme song, The Fishin' Hole, with the original lyrics that weren't used on TV. But those famous whistling notes? Those were actually performed by the song's co-writer, Earl Hagen. Griffith's love for music continued long after The Andy Griffith Show. In his later series, Matlock, he serenaded viewers in multiple episodes. His passion for gospel music led him to release the album I Love to Tell the Story, 25 Timeless Hymns, in 1996, which even won a Grammy Award. He was later inducted into the Country Gospel Music Hall of Fame and the Christian Music Hall of Fame and Museum. Griffith's musical journey didn't stop there. In 2010, he collaborated with country star Brad Paisley on the music video for Paisley's single, Waitin' on a Woman. The video, which featured Griffith as a wise old man dispensing advice on love and patience, won the Country Music Association Award for Video of the Year. But not all the behind-the-scenes stories of The Andy Griffith Show were as harmonious as Griffith's musical endeavors. When the show was initially thought to be ending after season 5, Don Knotts quickly moved on to other projects. But when Griffith decided to continue for a 6th season, Knotts was open to returning under one condition. He wanted partial ownership of the show. Griffith refused, leading to Knotts' departure from the series. Another source of tension came from Frances Bavier, who played Aunt Bee. She had a complicated relationship with her character, feeling typecast and frustrated with the show's limitations. This love-hate relationship would lead to some interesting dynamics on and off set. Frances Bavier, the actress who brought the beloved Aunt Bee to life, had a complicated relationship with her iconic role. As a trained New York City actress, she felt her dramatic talents were being overlooked in the wholesome sitcom. Despite this, she remained dedicated to the show, even becoming the only original cast member to continue in the spin-off Mayberry RFD for 2 additional seasons. Bavier was known to be easily offended on set, and the production staff had to tread carefully around her. Even Andy Griffith admitted that they clashed at times. Bavier's sensitivity likely stemmed from her frustration with being typecast as Aunt Bee, a character she felt didn't reflect her true personality or acting range. However, in a touching turn of events, Bavier reached out to Griffith just 4 months before her death in 1989. She apologized for being difficult during the show's run, expressing regret for any friction she may have caused. This act of reconciliation showed that beneath the tension, there was mutual respect and affection between the 2 actors. Bavier also confessed in an interview that it was difficult for her to be so closely identified with a character who was vastly different from her real self. Born into a wealthy family in New York City, Bavier had led a sophisticated life, attending prestigious universities and honing her craft in the theater. Aunt Bee, on the other hand, was a simple and somewhat naive character, known for her traditional values and homemaking skills. The contrast between Bavier's real-life persona and her on-screen character was evident in her interactions with Andy Griffith. Griffith was a notorious prankster on set, but Bavier didn't appreciate his humor, often finding it insensitive and disruptive. This clash of personalities created tension between the 2 actors, but thankfully, they managed to mend fences before Bavier's passing. Frances Bavier, the woman behind the lovable Aunt Bee, may have struggled with her role on The Andy Griffith Show, but she still managed to win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Comedy Actress in 1967. After retiring from acting in 1972, Bavière lived a quiet life, rarely venturing out of her spacious home in Siler City. She preferred a simple life, with her favorite room in the house containing just a bed, a desk, a television, and a stash of black licorice. Despite the on-screen dynamic, the close friendship between Andy Griffith and Don Knotts was a highlight of the show. Their bond was forged in their shared experiences of growing up in poverty during the Great Depression. Griffith's family was so poor that he slept in dresser drawers as a baby, while Knotts grew up as one of 4 boys in West Virginia. Their humble beginnings created a deep connection that translated to their on-screen chemistry. One of the show's most iconic moments, the whistling theme song with Andy and Opie walking to the fishing hole, was filmed at Franklin Canyon Park in Los Angeles. This simple yet heartwarming scene captured the essence of the show's values: family, friendship, and simple pleasures. The cast members each had their favorite episodes. Andy Griffith loved Barney's first car, where Barney's excitement over his new purchase is hilariously short-lived. Ron Howard, who played Opie, favored The Ball Game, an episode penned by his own father, Rance Howard. Over 8 seasons, the show produced a whopping 249 episodes, each one filled with humor, heart, and life lessons. Don Knotts' favorite episode, The Pickle Story, was a fan favorite as well. It showcased Aunt Bee's disastrous attempt at making pickles and the hilarious consequences that followed. In this hilarious episode, Aunt Bee whips up a batch of pickles so revolting that even Barney can't stomach them. Through a series of comical events, Andy and Barney are forced to eat 8 quarts of the kerosene cucumbers, resulting in a symphony of gags and laugh-out-loud moments. It's clear that the actors themselves were having a blast filming this episode, their genuine amusement shining through on screen. The chemistry between Andy Griffith and Don Knotts was so undeniable that it even impacted their contracts. Initially, Knotts was only signed for a single episode, but the producers were so impressed with his performance and his comedic rapport with Griffith that they offered him a 1-year contract on the spot, later extending it to 5 years. Griffith himself acknowledged the importance of their dynamic, stating, "The second episode was called Manhunt, and I knew by that episode that Don should be the comic and I should play straight for him. That made all the difference." Their comedic partnership became a cornerstone of the show's success and cemented their place as one of the most beloved duos in television history. Another fun fact about the show is that the iconic squad car used by Andy and Barney was actually a Ford Galaxy. A local Ford dealership provided the show with a brand new Galaxy whenever a new model came out, taking back the old one to repaint and sell. Imagine the missed opportunity of selling those cars as is, complete with a little Mayberry history. Throughout the show's 8 seasons, a total of 10 different Galaxies were used, and today there are plenty of replicas out there for fans to admire. Jim Nabors, who played the lovable goofball Gomer Pyle, was such a hit with audiences that he got his own spin-off show after the Andy Griffith Show ended. Gomer Pyle, USMC, followed Gomer's hilarious adventures as a Marine, and it became a huge success in its own right. Jim Nabors, the actor behind the lovable Gomer Pyle, didn't just have a knack for making people laugh. He also had a surprisingly impressive singing voice, recording a whopping 28 albums throughout his career. His spin-off show, Gomer Pyle, USMC, showcased his comedic talents and allowed him to shine as a leading man. But back on the set of The Andy Griffith Show, rumors swirled about a secret romance between Andy Griffith and actress Annetta Corsaw, who played the schoolteacher Helen Crump. Even though Griffith was married at the time, it was whispered that he and Corsaw were more than just friends. Their on-screen chemistry seemed to translate off-screen as well. This alleged affair eventually led to Griffith's divorce from his first wife, Barbara, in 1972. Griffith went on to marry twice more, while Corsaw remained unmarried and childless. The secret affair was almost exposed during a playful prank gone wrong. A crew member disguised as a waiter was supposed to deliver dinner to Griffith's hotel room, but he caught Griffith and Corsaw in a compromising position. Oops! Talk about an awkward moment. Another intriguing mystery of the show was the absence of Opie's mother. She's only mentioned once in the entire series, during the episode Wedding Bells for Aunt Bee, where Andy reminisces about her. Viewers never see a photo or learn her name, adding to the intrigue surrounding Opie's backstory. Interestingly, the name Opie was a tribute to a real-life musician named Opie Cates, a famous bandleader from the 1930s and 40s. Andy Griffith and the show's producer were big fans of his music, so they decided to honor him by naming Opie after him. And speaking of names, Ron Howard, who played Opie, became a household name not only for his role in The Andy Griffith Show, but also for his later role as Richie Cunningham in Happy Days. Ron Howard, who played Opie Taylor on The Andy Griffith Show, has gone on to become a successful director and producer, earning numerous awards, including the National Medal of Arts. He even has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, one for television and one for motion pictures. Opie definitely grew up to be a big deal in Hollywood. In 1975, Ron married writer Cheryl Alley, and together they have 4 children, including 2 actresses. While playing the role of Andy's sweetheart Helen Crump, Annetta Corsaw was also a student. She was studying drama at Northwestern University before dropping out to pursue acting full-time. During the filming of The Andy Griffith Show, she continued her education at UCLA, showing her dedication to both her craft and her personal growth. Even after The Andy Griffith Show, Annetta remained a busy actress, appearing in 2 reunion shows and numerous TV series, such as Gunsmoke and Rich Man, Poor Man. Sadly, she passed away from cancer in 1995 and was laid to rest in Hollywood. Andy Griffith himself faced health challenges later in life. In 1983, he was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare neurological disorder, but thankfully he made a full recovery. In 2000, he underwent quadruple bypass surgery, a major heart procedure. Sadly, in 2012, he suffered a fatal heart attack and was buried on Roanoke Island, a place he cherished. The legacy of The Andy Griffith Show is so strong that there's even a museum dedicated to it in Mount Airy, North Carolina, Andy Griffith's hometown, and the inspiration for Mayberry. It houses the largest collection of Andy Griffith memorabilia in the world, a testament to the show's enduring popularity and cultural impact. But not everything about the show was as smooth as Andy's southern drawl. In the early episodes, Andy and Barney were presented as cousins, a nod to the stereotype of family connections helping people land jobs in small towns. However, this backstory was quickly dropped, and they were simply referred to as childhood friends from then on. It seems like the writers realized that cousins as law enforcement partners might be a bit too close for comfort. Behind the scenes, tensions sometimes ran high. During the second season, Andy Griffith punched a wall in a fit of anger, breaking his hand. To cover up this embarrassing incident, the show's producers concocted a story about Sheriff Taylor injuring himself while apprehending criminals. It's a good thing they had a creative excuse ready. Don Knotts, the lovable Barney Fife, had his own quirks. He was so fond of his signature white straw fedora, salt and pepper coat, and red bow tie that he wore the same outfit in several of his other films, including The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and The Reluctant Astronaut. It seems like Barney's fashion sense wasn't limited to Mayberry, but not everyone had a good time on set. Eleanor Donahue, who played Andy's love interest Ellie Walker in the first season, left the show because she felt there was no chemistry between her and Andy Griffith. Griffith himself later admitted that he struggled to show affection on camera, which might explain why their on-screen romance didn't quite sizzle. Despite the popularity of Andy and Helen's relationship on the show, Eleanor Donahue, who played Ellie Walker, decided to leave after just one season. She felt there wasn't enough chemistry between her and Andy Griffith. In fact, Griffith himself admitted he struggled to show affection on screen, making their relationship feel forced and unnatural. Interestingly, the characters of Andy and Opie didn't originate on The Andy Griffith Show. They first appeared in a pilot episode for a different show called Make Room for Daddy. This show, also produced by Danny Thomas, served as a springboard for The Andy Griffith Show, which quickly became a beloved classic. Andy Griffith almost missed out on his iconic role. He was focused on his film career at the time and wasn't interested in doing a TV show. But when the idea for The Andy Griffith Show was pitched to him, he agreed to do it, but with a catch. He wanted to own 50% of the show. It was a bold move, but it paid off handsomely. By the time he passed away, Griffith had amassed a fortune of $60 million, thanks in part to his ownership stake in the show. Barney Fife's character was known for his clumsiness and inability to handle a gun, so Andy only allowed him to carry one bullet. This running gag resonated with fans, who sent Don Knotts bullets from all over the country. He probably never had to buy ammo for target practice again. Despite the heartwarming father-son bond on screen, young Ron Howard faced a harsh reality behind the scenes. His character's name, Opie, became a target for bullies who cruelly rhymed it with dopey. Howard confessed, "My character's name, Opie, rhymes with dopey. I'd have to get into fights with people." It seems that even being the star of a hit show couldn't shield him from childhood taunts. Ironically, on the show, Opie himself learned valuable lessons about dealing with bullies, often with the guidance of his wise father, Sheriff Taylor. Audiences cheered as Opie grew into a kind and respectable young man, overcoming the challenges of adolescence. But in real life, being on the most popular show on television didn't automatically translate to popularity among his peers. In a 2012 biography, Ron Howard revealed that he was embarrassed to be an actor and kept his TV fame a secret from other kids. He didn't want to be treated differently or teased for his unusual job. Despite the teasing, Howard took pride in his work and recognized his ability to function in the adult world of television. He once said, "The Andy Griffith Show was the #1 show in the country, so I always knew there was something that I could do that was unusual and that I could function in an adult environment." But no matter how hard he tried to keep his Mayberry fame under wraps, his secret eventually came out.